Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Klosser, and this week my guest on the Portrait System podcast is Jihan Cerda. Jihan is a portrait and wedding photographer in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's super talented, and she's been in business for many, many years. She has a really high referral rate, not just from her clients, but also from people who are in the event space. She has a high percentage of clients who return either after she photographed their wedding or like any sort of milestone photo shoot, and they come back to do an additional shoot with her. She talks all about how she gets them to come back. Jihan and I also ended up talking about maintaining that elusive work and life balance and about how we both implement a lot of boundaries in order to maintain that healthy balance. All right, let's get started with Jihan Cerda. Hi, Jihan. Welcome to the Portrait System. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. So we've never met in person, but we know each other from a photographer Facebook group is how I was kind of introduced to you and your work. And so yeah, it's cool to have you on after all these years of being in this group together for so long.
Yes, it is. And I want to say, I think I got invited to the group in 2013, maybe, or 2012.
Yeah, that's
around
when
the time
I
it started. Yeah, it's like when it started. And here we are over a decade later and still have not met in person.
Isn't that crazy? Well, it's funny because we're not talking about the Portrait System group because we have a Portrait System Facebook group for all of our members only, like only members. This is something completely different that way back when it was kind of like this exclusive, like invite only group. And, it just, I don't know, we ended up just making a lot of really great friends from that group. And
oh, totally.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. Like it was really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, for you, like, let's say 10 years ago, because 2013, has a lot changed for you since then?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same.
It definitely has. I mean, between work life, everything in between, yes, definitely has changed.
Yeah.
And plus with just how styles and everything has evolved too,
Oh, yeah, totally. And
yeah.
I mean, for me too, for what I shoot, like, because I used to do mostly weddings, and I definitely did portraits back then, but not like how I do now I don't do weddings at all anymore. But yeah. But okay, so let's back up. So 2013, how long had you been a photographer at that point?
I would say so 2008-ish is around the time when I guess I kind of picked back up from, the high school years when I just was playing around with it.
Okay.
And then there was just like a big break in between. But as far as 2008, I'd say is like when I really started. And then I started, I actually officially started business in 2009.
Okay. So it's been a while, 14 years. What do we have?
No, yeah, about, right? About 14, 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you've been in this for a while now. Yeah. All right. So when you first started out, was this something that like you switched careers from something else, or you just decided this was going to be your career? I know you said you had a break between playing around with it and doing a business, but
yeah, I would say so. So basically, so in 2001, I was working at Starbucks as a barista. Loved it. It was so much fun because I just love people. I love the interaction with people. Meeting, new people as they walk through the door, remembering their name, their drink, all the things, right? Just connecting with those people, right? And then at that point, I started working right after Starbucks. There was a customer who would always come in, and I'd see her all the time. And when I was telling her I was thinking of leaving Starbucks, she was like, "Oh, well, are you looking for a job?" And I said, "I kind of am." And she's like, "Well, we have an opening at our company." And it was an event management, strategic marketing company that I basically got, my interview was being her Starbucks barista. And that's how I got into that business. But
that's
what
awesome.
was fun with that, but it's just like but it was like, as weird as it sounds, like, I was able to get creative with, making a coffee drink, right? And then getting creative with working for this company and doing all these creative projects, and then, eventually, moving into my photography business. Yes, like my other passion is event management or just event planning and design, but which is something I never really got to take on full-fledged, but I'm just so thankful with that I took this on,
Yeah.
So
Well, that just goes to show, and people who listen to this all the time know that I harp on this a lot of how important networking is. And it's like, even as a barista, you were networking even if you didn't realize it. Like,
right.
it's such an important piece to booking shoots, to moving in a different direction with your career, to getting like affiliate gigs with, photography gear companies. I mean, there's just so many benefits to networking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it was just like, I mean, and the fact that this person just, was willing to kind of take me under her wing in that sense, to then, I mean, and I was the youngest one in the company at the time too. So in a way forced me to have to, mature up a little bit because I was 18. I was
you
18.
were only 18.
I was only 18.
Wow,
So I was working for this big private company, and they, and it was a more privately owned company where it wasn't a big corporation. Like it hadn't, it wasn't like it had hundreds of employees. It was a big company with like 30, 35 employees, but we were all in the same office. Everyone knew each other. I had a lot of fun. Like I had a lot of fun when I worked for that company. So celebrated my 21st birthday with them,
Yeah. Sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I know you said you love the event planning side of things. Do you think that's why you were drawn to weddings, shooting weddings?
So, but when I first started out, I wanted to steer clear of weddings. Like I was afraid of them. Like didn't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. I've been married for 17 years, or almost 17 years. But when I got married, I remember everything that just went into it, right? And understanding that this was someone's important day, and getting lost in all the important little things, like the centerpieces and the chair sashes and color scheme and all that, right?
I know I got lost in it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I got to a point where I'm like, I don't even really care. I just want to get married, but my mom was kind of reliving her wedding through me, and because she didn't get to have that, when she got married to my dad. So, there was a lot of butting heads, but it was still
happens.
But yes,
weddings.
But no, so when I first started, weddings was not something I wanted to do. I was primarily focusing on portraits, whether it was maternity, newborn, family things. And I really enjoyed it. And then eventually I reached out to this photographer he was the photographer, him and his wife are the one that photographed my wedding. And I just, I kind of expressed my interest on wanting just to kind of get an idea of a wedding, but still at that point wasn't quite sure if I was confident enough in myself to even approach it. So then went and shot my first wedding with him. And no joke, it was like I instantly fell in love. It was like love at first sight. Like there was something about that day that I just was like, wow, like this is something that I would think I would love to do. And I'd love to be a part of that, So so then it took off from there, really.
And so fast forward to now, you do weddings, but you also do portraits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And what would you say, like a breakdown of like how many weddings you do per, versus portraits, or that, specifically?
So, I mean, I definitely shoot more portraits, between, high school seniors, family, newborn, maternity. But I do prioritize my wedding clients.
Okay.
Which I shoot roughly, 15 to 20 weddings a year. I like to keep it like now. I used to shoot a little bit more, but I tend to keep it on a smaller scale now. One, because of where I think I'm priced at, but two, also just that work-life balance, having 3 kids, a household to run. My husband is the one who, we're both self-employed, but his business is more consistent through the week. So it's kind of what's made it work for us.
Yeah.
And, if I feel like, oh, you know what, I can pick up a wedding here or I can pick up a wedding there, then, I'll do it. Especially if I'm connecting with somebody, I that heartbreak of saying, sorry, I can't do it because, you can't tell them like, oh, sorry, I don't want to do it because I have a free weekend. And, I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
No, totally. Okay. So you do 15 to 20 weddings a year. And then if, even just like a rough average of how many portraits do you think you do? Like 1 a week, 3 a month, 5 a month, what would you say?
So I would say it kind of just varies. for example, like right now, this is the earliest I've finished my wedding season, but I just had my last wedding of the year this past weekend. But between now and the beginning of beginning of December, I've got like 4 to 5, sessions a week.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But
And
we're in October. We're in
yes,
October, like leading
yes.
into holiday season, and you are
Yes.
located in San Francisco?
Just north of San Francisco. I'm in
Okay.
Petaluma.
Okay. Just so people have an idea
Yeah.
of, where we're
Yeah.
at. Okay.
So I'm in Petaluma. It's a cute little city. We're neighbors with Sonoma. So
Okay.
I'm surrounded by, a lot of the wine country beauty, but also like the open fields, rolling hills, like a little mix of everything, which is
nice.
kind of nice. San Francisco is like literally a hop, skip, and a jump for me too. So
Nice. So you have the best of both worlds. Like you can do
Oh, yeah.
city and you can
Mhm.
do outdoor. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So I just wanted people to have an idea of like you have a full-time photography business. It's just
yeah.
spaced out in different ways based on season and what you're shooting and that sort of thing.
Yes. One varies year by year, right?
Yeah.
But also just by the season. So for example, like in the wintertime, I'm not really shooting a lot around here because, there's no leaves on the trees and the ground is constantly wet and, people would love especially when you have people who are they have this specific idea in mind of what it is that they want.
Yeah.
And I tell them, oh, well, you're not going to get the green vineyard leaves in the month of December or January, especially for people who are coming in from out of town. I shoot a lot of people who travel to the area to get married or just to have an engagement session. And I have to, to kind of help coach them. So that way they have they're not surprised when they show up thinking, wait, I thought we were doing photos in the vineyard. Like, well, we can, but it's all branchy.
Right. And God, setting expectations for clients is so important. I mean, I can remember so many times when people would send me these golden hour in a field, wedding portraits or whatever, but then they were getting married like in the city in November in Seattle. And I'm like, I just want to make sure that this isn't going to be this is not I'm not a wizard here. So setting those expectations I think are so important always.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and there's nothing wrong with over communicating, right? I mean, at least you know that you've communicated it. So that way, when it does come down to it, they know what they're getting into. And then there's no well, wait a second. I thought this, or I thought that. It's like, no. Like we discussed that. We talked about it, Yeah. So, and we do it in a playful way, like I'm never like, I don't come at a client like in a very, direct,
for sure,
intense kind of way. It's like we just have like
you're never going to get these photos.
Let's brainstorm some other options though. That will be very fitting to what it is that you're going for. So
totally. They're still going to be really beautiful. It's just there's not going to have totally. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about. I know you have 3 kids. How old are they now?
15, 13, and 8.
Oh yeah. Okay. So mine are 5 and 7 now. And I started my business before they were born. I mean, I started my business in 2012, officially in 2012, and I had my first in 2016. So I had a good 3.5 years of kind of trying to figure things out before I had my first baby. But it sounds like, well, you must have started your business right as you were having your first baby, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. End of 2008. I'm sorry, end of 2007. Oh my God, how did that happen? So end of 2007, actually. So my oldest was born on January 19th, 2008.
Okay.
His due date. It was his due date. Nice. Came on his due date. And at the end of 2007, around Christmas time, my husband showed up with just this. He could see my interest in wanting to really take better pictures and all the things. Plus the iPhone wasn't out yet, whatnot. So it's you're either, photographing with a small little point and shoot or whatever, but I wanted something a little bit more. And so he got me one of those camera kits, and it was a Nikon that came with 2 lenses and all the things. And it was great. It helped. I mean, it helped me. It inspired me to get my business rolling,
Totally.
But anyhow, but yeah, I mean, 2007 when I got that camera kit, and then going into 2008, my son was, born, and then we just, I would take pictures of him all the time, and but then that's when I kind of I was just taking all these pictures, and that's when I realized, I really should just see if anybody else wants, something is there somebody who wants that, some newborn photos or just some family photos, just have fun with it, and that was more of just this is more of a hobby for me. And then eventually more and more people were starting to say things to me you're so good, you really should do this, or you should, do that, or start charging, and blah, 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 blah. And then eventually I just was okay, I took that leap, I was scared to do it. I was really scared to do it. I remember my very first paid gig, and still I look back at that and think, oh my God, what was I thinking, but it was great. I did it.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So something I really wanted to talk to you about and just touch on, because I know we both have a lot of experience with this, is just managing having, a big family or 3 kids, and plus working full time and having your business. And just how do you make all of that work? When you first had your first son, do you feel like you had it all together, or was it a shit show, like how it was for me when I first had my baby, trying to juggle it all?
Yeah. Here's the thing. And this is why I think back, when I first started out, I didn't have this business up and running yet, right? Where you could just say yes to everything, right? So for your first 5 years, you were probably able to just be oh yeah, I can take that on. I can take that on. I can take that on. Where me, I had to be a little bit more strategic about it. But also, I was building my portfolio. I was building my website. I was doing everything on my own. Everything. I wasn't, and I didn't even have money to pay for someone to help me. Then on top of that, doing what I can to further, educate myself and learn more about what direction I wanted to take this business,
Real quick, it's funny because even though I didn't have kids, I had a full-time job. So when I started, I was a full-time social worker. So I gave so the first full year of business, I was a full-time social worker. Then I went down to part-time the following year. So that first 2 years, I had a job. And it's even though it's not kids, it's obviously different when you have kids. Totally. But it was still trying to figure it all out, because I could only work weekends and evenings. And I also had, my husband and a life and all of that. And it gets real tricky.
Well, and that's the thing, is that in 2008, I don't know if you remember, when there was that big financial, crash, the housing market crash. Yeah. And thank God we did not buy a house at that time, because
I did.
My mom
I bought one. Yeah.
Sorry.
2004, I bought my first condo on my own with a really shitty mortgage. And then the value of it just went down.
Yeah.
So
and so that's the thing, is my husband and I, he, thankfully, he had his work, and his work never got affected.
That's
from that
nice.
Financial standpoint, I have to say. I feel like everyone's always into health and fitness to some degree, but he's also so good at what he does. So I think that helps. And then I was still working for this, that woman that I was working for at that event management company. She actually had peeled off and started her own company, and I kind of went with her. Well, I had already left, but then started back up with her. And then after I had my son, market crashed. I didn't have her to go back to. So I would say I went from having a 40-hour a week, or not really, I would say more 35 hours, because then I was working in a restaurant. I've done it all.
Yeah.
I have such a story with all my work gigs that I've done. It's funny, but I was working in the restaurant industry 3 nights a week at that point. And so in between, I worked in the bar area of this restaurant. And so when it was a little bit, downtime, usually at the start of my shift, it was pretty low key, because everyone, majority of people worked over in there was more people who would go and start their early dining over in the dining room, but then they would come over to the bar area where I worked. And then I'd have my regular customers that would come in, but basically by kind of in between, I'd sit and I would just make notes, I'd get a piece of paper, I'd make notes, I'd put it in my my little apron that had pockets, and then I would take those notes at
Oh, I
home.
so
And
remember. I was a server
yeah,
too and bartender.
yes, yes. Those were some fun
Yeah.
times, though. I have to
Yeah,
say,
it
like,
was. It was so fun. I
and
wouldn't
that's what
change
I
it for the world.
say. Yeah, and that's when I say, like, kind of going back to earlier in the conversation about like, um, I was already working weekends. So
Yeah.
going into weddings was an easy transition because, well, I was already working weekends,
Mhm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that wasn't an issue when I started working weddings, Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like I would be with my, my one at the time, my only son at the time. I would be with him during the week while my husband was working. And then it's almost like, all right, tag, you're it. Like now I'm off to work.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think that is huge. Like having him being understanding of like, okay, like it's a Friday or Saturday night. Like we don't get to really hang out, but you get to hang out with your baby and bond and hang out
Mhm.
with him, which he loved, So that was, I think, a big part of that part of like success at such an early stage,
Yeah.
becoming a parent and, a new business. So
Yeah, definitely. So fast forward to having 3.
mhm.
It seems like you have to have some sort of boundaries in place. Because like when I first had my son and I thought I was going to be able to like work from home with him there and this and that, because by that time I was no longer a social worker, but I learned really quickly that that's not how it was going to go. Like
Mhm.
boundaries needed to go in place really quickly. Like are there certain boundaries that you really have to abide by in order to make it work? I mean, aside from being able to like, tag team with your husband and that sort of thing, but just in general.
I would say I feel like I mean, yes, I've had clients who would text me, say at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, with a quick
Mhm.
question. And I'm the weirdo that would just look at my phone, or I would even look at my email from my phone and I would see it. And then I couldn't settle myself for the
Yes.
night until I responded. Right. So
Mhm.
that's where I feel like I have to admit I'm probably terrible with boundaries when it comes to that because I don't like having people wait, especially with technology, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, everything is at our fingertips with this phone,
Yeah.
but I would say that I did eventually have to set boundaries with myself when it came to my editing and sitting at my computer because, my husband, he would be up for work, or really be at work by 6 a.m. and he'd work all day. And then by the time that he walks into the house at, 5 or 6 o'clock at night, he doesn't, I would be like, all right, see ya, I gotta go work, because we know like sometimes editing is
Yeah.
better at nighttime. At least for me, it's
Mhm.
better because it's darker. I can see the colors on my screen a little bit better, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And then one night he was so mad. He was so mad at
Yeah.
me because it was Thursday night football. He comes inside. He's just so excited to like hang out with us and the kids and watch some football and eat dinner. And I run upstairs and he finally said something like, I'm I get so excited to come in and see you guys, but then you just go upstairs and you go to work. And it's like, when am I ever going to get time to spend with you? And I remember, and
Mhm.
actually, when that happened, it was around this time of year when it's really busy and you're stressed because clients are just, request after request and needing
Mhm.
things. And they don't get it, like, and plus you're also trying to make sure that you're treating every client like they're your, like they're a priority,
Yeah. Yeah,
and they
totally.
don't, but with that, they don't realize that you got a handful of other clients that you also are trying to make feel that same way. Um, and I remember being really upset and frustrated and whatever. And I was like, you know what? I shut my computer down and I went downstairs and I remember crossing my arms and just had this like look on my face. Like I was just like, whatever, like, just
Mhm.
pissed off.
You don't
And
understand. I have to get this
yeah,
done. Like, you don't
totally,
know.
totally. And
Oh,
this is
I've
after
so
I've
been
given them
there.
warning
Yeah.
after warning after warning, like, hey, like it's my busy season. Please be patient. Please be patient. Please be patient. But I remember that moment was kind of like the turning point for me because
Mhm.
instantly my night had changed. Like my attitude had turned around. We had such a fun night. And I think
Yeah.
actually subconsciously that's what I needed, you
Yeah.
know? And it just ended up being a really nice night. So now, like ever since then, I've been a lot better with, you know, okay, like try to get all the work I can done during the day while the kids are in school. I mean, I will tell you
Mhm.
at the time when my kids were younger, and you have young kids, right? How old are your kids again?
5 and 7, so
5 and
kindergarten,
7.
2nd grade. Just started
Yes.
kindergarten, my youngest this year, so
Yes. Is there TK where you live?
Yes. So my youngest did pre-K 3 days a week.
Okay. So so luckily, leading up, I mean, it was easier, I have to say, when my kids were babies, because I knew that I'd have like a good 2.5 hour, 2 times a day nap time to be able to
lucky.
focus.
My oldest did not. Oh my God. Napping was a night.
My oldest was, I have to wake him up. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He was easier. Then my second came along and that was a different story. But, but I would say definitely like, figuring out some sort of routine where because the iPad came out, I want to say before I had my third, but I also wasn't like, I don't want my kid to be on the iPad the entire time. But luckily we lived in a neighborhood where we had some really close friends who had kids the same age. I'd be like, hey, like, can you come play for 2 hours while I get some work done? So, it does take a village, right? When it comes to those kinds of things. But, and honestly, looking back, you asked me that question. I'm like, I really still sometimes don't even know how I did it, but I will say that, and all in all, I do owe it to my husband because he's the one that has honestly been my biggest supporter ever since the very beginning.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I know everyone listening has complete different life circumstances. Some people have kids, some people don't. Some people have another job, some people don't. And it's so important to really figure out what is feeling good to you and right to you. And if you have a partner, like, because my husband, it takes a lot to get him upset, like a lot. He's very supportive and very just tolerant of my shit. And I had a very similar experience. He was just like, really? Because we were going to watch a movie and I had my computer open and I'm like editing, watching the movie. And he's like, seriously, babe, like enough. Like, I miss you. Yeah. Like, this is it, So, I had a very come to Jesus with him as well. And I started saying to myself, okay, because I'm the same. If I have a client who emails me and it's just a quick response on my phone, as long as I'm not like in the middle of playing a game with my son or out riding dirt bikes with the family or whatever, I'm going to ignore it. But if I'm just like, sitting by myself, like drinking a glass of wine, watching Netflix, I'll respond really quickly because that doesn't feel bad to me. But when I have that sort of icky, like I feel like I'm being pulled in two different directions, that's my my, I don't know if radar is the right word, but if I'm feeling guilt with what I'm doing right now with work, that's when I know I need to stop and look at, am I breaking these like boundaries that I've created for myself? I'm always basing like, am I feeling icky right now and feeling like a shit mom or a bad wife or whatever, And if that's the case, then I have to like reevaluate.
And that's also sometimes too, where if you just were to sit and just, like I have this little tiny notebook. It's like, it's the smallest notebook. And it's always at my desk and I'll sit there and I will use that to, just jot whatever my thoughts are. Or also like, okay, these are the things that I need to prioritize and what I need to do. Because there's something about writing it on paper. Yes, I could type it in on my computer, or I can plug in my phone, but it's just not the same as far as me physically having to write it and see it in front of my eyes. That kind of helps, with organizing my brain.
For sure.
But then also just, communicating. I mean, yes, that one night when my husband was upset about me just like going up to work and it's like, hello, like, can't you come hang out and give me some attention? That kind of thing. I think that, he, the fact that he communicated to me like how he was feeling also kind of helped with just resetting like my mindset when it came to like, okay, like this is how I need to start kind of running things a little bit better. And actually, what's really funny, the roles have kind of reversed. Now it's me being like, I want my attention because he opened up a new, well, essentially the same business industry, but just now in like a bigger space. And we just opened up a little bit over a year ago. And, he is with clients hour by hour by hour, like with no break. And so he'll then have to come home and he'll have to respond to all these clients about, what they need. And then I'm just like sitting there and in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, God, like you need a secretary, like you need
to outsource this.
Yes. So,
well, and I think like you said, communication, like if you do have a partner, like communication is key because sometimes people who aren't in our industry don't really understand the amount of time that it takes to get this done. And I'm a huge, huge advocate for outsourcing. I don't do my own retail. I mean, I do my own color correction and cropping, I very much give the photos my look, but I have someone who does my skin retouching and fixes the backdrop if it's in studio, hair flyaways, especially outside, like things like that. And that gave me hours and hours and hours of my life back. So for me, that was incredibly important. So it's like really just taking a look at, okay, if you are so strapped for time and your like personal life is struggling, it's so important to look at the ways that you can really outsource.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I did do the outsource route at one point. And when I first started out with that, it was great. Actually, it actually was very time saving for me. And I was starting to make more money where I was able to invest in that. Eventually it kind of fizzled. I just got too picky. I'm so picky. I'm way too picky. And
that's not a bad thing. I mean,
no, it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, like for me, it's a bad thing in the sense that like if I just kind of let go a little bit more, I'd probably still be okay with the outsourcing work, right? But then some of the companies that I have gone through and tried, as those companies grew, they were also bringing on new editors. And then, next thing you know, like I'm not working with that same editor and then I'm having to almost start over with somebody else. And it was just like, and then next thing you know, I felt like I was spending more time fixing my own work versus just do it myself. It's the same amount of time for me to just do it myself. Yeah.
It's a thing. I can't tell you how many messages and emails I get like, I need a retoucher and someone that isn't going to be $10 an image, And I'm super lucky that I started with the same I've had the same retoucher my entire career. And I feel like it's like a dating process. Like I did an episode with Pratik. He's a like master retoucher, super amazing. And he and I talked all about finding a retoucher and how it is like, it's like dating. Like it can be really, really painful, And I'm not telling you to outsource. I'm just for the listeners to hear. Like,
oh no! If you
need to outsource,
recommendations, please share away because I could still use it.
yeah. I mean, I think it depends on what you want them to do. Like there are times when I'm like, I just need these braces gone super quick. Like I need it back in 5 hours or whatever, and then I can go to like retouchup.com for $2.50 or $5 and it's done. But I mean, it just depends on really what people are looking for. But if you're out there and you're thinking about outsourcing retouching, listen to the episode with Pratik. It kind of goes through the steps of finding like a good retoucher. But in the end, if you feel like you're drowning, if your personal life is suffering, it's not going to go away. Like, and you might have a partner who's not going to like communicate gently, like, my husband did or your husband did. It's going to be, it could be detrimental to the relationships in your life, friendships in your life, your children, so it's just really important to be in tune with that. If things are feeling out of balance, you got to find a way.
And I think that's also part of the reason why I think I decided to pull back on weddings a little bit more and not photograph as many, because portrait sessions, I can photograph those during the week. I actually was just talking to somebody about it today, how, oh my God, I love that I am working more during the week right now because then my weekends are free and I'm not missing out on X, Y, and Z. I mean, and now seeing my kids as they've gotten older, I mean, like my daughter's going to be 9 in, a little over a month. And it's like, oh my God, I remember the day that she was born, like it was yesterday. And I really have to say out of all 3 of my kids, she was the one that I really soaked in the most because I knew that she was going to be my last. And, where my boys, like, that was like towards the beginning of my business and really doing everything I could to grow it. And I felt like, there was times where I was like, all right, there's Peppa Pig, go watch that or whatever, whatever show that was on.
Of that sometimes.
Yeah. But, but I look back and I think like, what, it also, all that work gave me the ability to kind of pick and choose, when eventually, right? Like not in the beginning, like I was kind of just trying to take whatever I could, but eventually it led into me being able to pick and choose what I wanted, what days I could work or, what I wanted my schedule to look like, to allow me the time to be able to not, to do things with my kids and not miss soccer games or, miss jujitsu competitions or, all the things, be able to go to my kids' back to school night and not have to, miss it for, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I did a personal branding session, I loved it. Like you were saying, love at first sight with weddings. That was me with personal branding. Like I absolutely loved it. And what I loved about it even more was being able to work during the week. Because like professionals don't want to work evenings and weekends. They just don't.
Right. Right.
So, just like I didn't or whatever. So the majority, I would say like 80% of my income over the last 10 years has been through personal branding, and it's during the week. And I start my shoots at 10:30 so I can get the kids up, get them off to school, drop them off, and then maybe like come back home, quick get ready, head to the shoot. It's be done. I only shoot, my shoots, it's like 2 hours with hair and makeup. And then I come home and I do some editing and maybe record a podcast. Whereas, okay, I will say though, there are times when I just want to get out of the house and work.
Oh, yeah.
My senior, this time of year is really busy for me for high school senior shoots. I know you do senior shoots as well.
I've been busy with that right now too.
Yeah. So there are times during this time of year that I don't mind working evenings because I love the glowy light during golden hour. And then plus it gets me out of the house where, I love my children and I try to spend as much time with them. And there are also times when I don't want to spend, I just want a couple hours away.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing beats being in the car down the 101 blasting your own music and having some time to yourself.
Yeah.
Especially now that my kids are at that age where it's like, my oldest, for example, like he comes in, he'll sit in the front. Actually, well, now he's driving. He has his permit now. So now it's,
yeah.
But like he'll just take the car over. And in my head, I'm like, well, first of all, whose car is this? Whose gas is this? Where are we going? And he'll just take over and put like his rap music on or whatever mood that he's in.
Yeah.
And, where I almost in a way don't have a choice of what gets played on the radio. But, but no, we all need that. I even just like shifted myself where like, okay, I start my mornings off like responding to emails, doing a little editing or culling or whatever it may be. And then I get out and I do, like this morning, actually, before I got on here with you, I placed my Whole Foods order for a pickup and I'm going to go, because that's the other thing I have to say, like one thing that COVID has done to us is, being able to have these, having a little bit of outside help, right? Like being able to place your order online so you can just roll and pick up. Because sometimes I don't have the time to go to the grocery store because I'm an Uber driver in the afternoon, taking care of my kids with all their sports and things like that, and then I think about all the work I still have building up as it goes along. And it's like, I can't let that keep building up and not chipping away at it. So
totally. It's little things like that if you can just tweak some things, and okay, I know there are extra charges. Well, I guess picking up my grocery delivery, there aren't extra charges unless they're just building it in on the website, like if the food costs more on the website. Yeah. But those are little things you can like build into your cost of business. If there are cost of doing business, if there are fees, I'm just such a proponent for finding ways to give yourself more time. And the other thing is too, is, when I first got into photography, I wasn't thinking like, what is going to be the best genre for my lifestyle? Like these just weren't, I was just so excited to start a business. And like you said, taking any work that I had time for or whatever. But once you like get going into it, like I realized that weddings were not going to work for my lifestyle. They just weren't.
Right.
And personal branding was, so especially if you're really new, take some time to think about what your lifestyle is like and what it truly will look like if you take on weddings. Or maybe you're someone who prefers not to work during the week and weddings are better for you because you want to be home with your baby or, whatever. Like it's just something to think about that I don't think we're ever taught to do that at the beginning.
Right. I would say, and one thing too is like, I remember having a conversation with my husband's cousin, her husband was a photographer. He did like more architectural stuff and he had really cool work. And, but I remember having a conversation with him and he was like asking me like, oh, like, I'm really interested in like learning more about weddings. Like how much do you charge and this, that, and the other. And, oh, wow. Like there's really a lot of money in weddings and whatnot. If you're going to photograph weddings too, though, remember that this is a very important day for somebody that spent a lot of time planning that
Definitely.
You don't necessarily want to do it for the money. You want to make sure that you love doing that because there's so much stress that goes into a wedding day. That's actually part of what I think I'm so drawn to. Like I love the challenge of weddings, but also leading up to that, I think like I build a rapport with my clients just because I feel it's important, and, and I know that there are some photographers out there, which I do admire, who like literally like they book their client and then they don't see them until the wedding day and they just shoot the wedding, which I wish I could do. I really do. I think that would probably simplify a lot in my life. But because I'm such a social person in general, I think that I think that's part of why, I like getting to know my clients a little bit more, and and then they appreciate it more the day of the wedding, so.
Yeah. And that just goes to show everyone can do it differently, and you can
Totally
do it differently how it feels right to you. But I am a firm believer in making that connection with clients. Like, I just think that is one of the most crucial things. And I think that's why I have such a good referral rate, is because of the connections that I build with my clients.
Same.
Yeah. And it's not like I spend a whole lot of time per se. It's just the time that I am with them.
Oh yeah,
I'm like
exactly.
laser focused on making them feel special and important. Genuinely. Because you want them to, Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I have to say, like, because I feel like I'm such a people person too. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I've definitely had times, where I have had a client where you can tell they don't really care for me. Like, I'm just a vendor to them. And I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Like, I'm just so thankful that they have found that trust, or, that they have that trust in me to capture their big, important day. Right. And then I have other clients where, like, I mean, like this one pops in my mind immediately. So I do a lot of, I'll do the engagement session, I'll do the wedding. And then after the wedding, I'll do their maternity, their newborn, their 6 month, their 1 year. Like, I have so many families that I photograph their wedding, and I've followed them, even beyond this point. I've been photographing them for a decade. I have families I've been photographing for a decade too.
Yeah.
This one family in particular, I did their wedding, and but before the wedding, when I did their engagement session, their engagement session lasted 10 minutes. It was literally a 10-minute session because of just how uncomfortable they were in front of the camera. It just was not their thing. They just wanted a couple pictures, even though they knew that they had roughly an hour and a half with me, whatever amount of time at the time. They were like, we're good. Like, this is fine. The day of the wedding, the coordinator was trying to drag them out, to take their sunset photos, and they kept saying no to her. And then I finally walked over, was like, we need to go. And they were like, okay, fine. They came out, whatever. Did a couple pictures. Everything was great. I'm not kidding you when I say after that, like, they called me when they were pregnant with their first. It totally like that. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, okay, wedding's over. Like, they're done with me. And no joke, they have 3 kids now. And when we photograph, we spend a good hour together. We talk. I play around with their kids, and we get a beautiful, amount of pictures. And, that to me is just such a heartwarming feeling, because it's like I was able to take them, like, and they'll even say, they're like, like, leading up to the wedding, like, that was just not our thing, but you made it more comfortable for us, and made it more fun. And so it's like, I love those kinds of clients. Love those types of clients. So
yeah, you left an impact, and I feel like that is what, like, and I'm sure you made them feel comfortable during that 10 minutes, even though they were, awkward. I've had, people can be very awkward, but when you actually make them feel good about it, and then they really like their photos, they'll keep coming back. Like, it's it's amazing.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and think, how often do you have a client that tells you, all right, like, we're really awkward, you're gonna have to tell us what to do, and it's like, I'm used to
all
that. Don't worry.
Yep. I got you. Is there anything you do specifically? I mean, obviously that couple like organically just came back to you. But are there any like marketing things that you do to remind people that you do more than just weddings, like after you shoot their wedding?
I gotta admit, I am so bad with my marketing. I really am. I'm terrible with, like, you can go on my Instagram and you can scroll once. I mean, I'm so bad at it. I am. But I
was looking at your Instagram and I thought were doing a really good job.
I mean, but if you look at it, like,
I think you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Well, I guess I'm comparing myself to like some of the other photographers that I'm friends with in the area who post every day. Where me, I don't post every day.
I can see on here when I'm scrolling, you do engagements, you do seniors, you do weddings. There's a couple family thrown in here. Like, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. You're posting just beautifully consistent photos. So maybe you don't think you're good at, I mean, I don't know what else you do for marketing. I'm sure like it sounds like referrals are big for you or whatever, but
I would say, but that's what that is. And that really is like, a big referral. Actually, I have to say a big referral source has been word of mouth. It's always been like that since the very beginning. And then I mean, in the beginning, I did try a couple things. I even tried a wedding show. I didn't really get much from that. I don't think I booked a single wedding from any of the wedding shows I did at the very beginning of my business. And I knew that, okay, like, how am I gonna grow this, but word of mouth has definitely been the best thing for me. So,
and I would, throw it out there that's probably because, and got people out there listening to this podcast are probably like, okay, Nikki, we get it. Cause I say it all the time, but that like experience you give them, the service you provide. And it sounds like you've had the experience with service, restaurant, barista. Like I had that experience with service too. I was a server and a bartender for 8 years, There's something about giving really great service, beautiful photos, great service, giving the connection and educating and communicating with the client. Like if you can just get these things under control and slowly work towards nailing those 4 things, like you're golden,
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that too, I think also is being aware of my schedule and not overbooking myself in that small period of time. Right.
Yeah.
I will tell you and I'm sure a lot of people in the wedding industry experience this, but in 2022, end of May, beginning of June, in 8 days, I had 5 weddings.
Oh my gosh. I would be hit by a truck.
Oh, yes. 5 full day weddings. And a lot of that was just from like people waiting it out to book their weddings because, of everything going on. And I remember feeling very like, oh my, and then on top of that, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people in my community and some in the photo community that are aware that, my middle had some health issues and, I was having to deal with that also. So that took some time away from me really focusing in on my business. But I remember feeling like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Never. But I didn't have a choice at the time just because I was, especially coming out of COVID and my son being done with his treatment and everything. Like I was just so desperate just to kind of get back into my work life, because I had missed it for so long, but I also learned a hard lesson, like, okay, don't photograph 5 full day weddings in 8 days. Because it does take a toll on your body.
Yeah, that goes back to part of that work-life balance. Like,
totally.
And it's going to affect the level of service that you can give when you are just completely stretched to the limit.
Yeah.
It's not good for anybody. It's not good for you. It's not good for your family. It's not good for your clients. So, yeah.
Yep.
And one more thing about the marketing piece, it's like marketing, you can do some really simple strategies that can bring in clients. It doesn't have to be this like full on, like every day, this and that, like reels and blah, 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 all the time. Like there can be some really simple, easy to do strategies that will bring your clients in. Like, because, you can have all of the things that I was saying, but I feel like that comes later on when that referral base. Like at the beginning, I feel like the first couple years, you really have to do that marketing piece in order to get people to know about you. And then the snowball starts rolling or whatever. So I don't want to discourage people and think that like, because marketing, I mean, I just did a course on marketing. Like it's incredibly important, especially those first few years until you get that really strong client base.
Right.
Then it's like, oh yeah, I don't really have to go to networking meetings anymore. Or, like I use my email list to market now, which is great because I can do it at home or, like, yeah. But
which is
so
wonderful.
Important.
You're actually inspiring me that I need to do some, like just a different approach with some marketing, especially if I don't want to say I'm moving out of weddings. I'm still booking weddings, but as my kids are getting a little bit older, I look at my oldest, who is going to be 16 in January. He plays football. He's very driven. I mean, the kid, I drove him, I dropped him off at the gym. So my husband's a gym owner that he runs his own training facility. And I dropped my son off at the gym at 6:30 this morning to train for an hour and a half before he goes to school. And then he has football practice. Like he has his visions and his dreams already set of him wanting to play college football, which I know is, that's a big dream, but you have to, like Walt Disney says, if you can dream it, you can do it, but like, I think of my future as far as like, okay, if he decides he wants to play college football, whether it's, the JC level, D1, D2, D3, whatever it may be, those games happen on Saturdays. Well, I can't be photographing weddings on Saturdays in the fall and then miss watching his games. Now, obviously I can't go to every single game, but I want to be able to go see my son play.
Or can you?
Right? I know.
I'm like, switch to personal branding and I'll tell you what. No.
I know.
No, but it might be a good idea to remind, like, you have this full email list with all of your past clients, like to remind them that you do XYZ shoots as well. Like I'm not just your mother's wedding photographer. Like there are other things that you do just to remind them. And they already know, like, and trust you. They already probably have a good idea of your pricing. And they know you're going to provide great quality. Like past clients are the best people to market to, I think.
No, and I have to say past clients and even some of my newer clients, like some of my newer clients who've never stepped in front of my camera, but they've heard about me. And, and when I meet them and like, I'll just be chatting away and like, next thing you know, we're not even talking about photography. We're talking about like, oh, what's your favorite Starbucks drink? Oh, really? You like this? Oh, I like that too. Or whatever it may be, or your favorite ice cream flavor. Like we just and sometimes I have to be careful of that because I don't want, especially when you have a client who is interested in booking you for their wedding, right? Like you want them to, it's about them. So you want them to feel like, okay, like let's let them talk a little bit more about, what it is that they are doing, and but sometimes like, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of like a nice little icebreaker, like kind of segueing into it, I don't know, like when you have like small talk conversations.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see what you end up doing and how you end up, kind of moving forward. And the kids sports thing, it's a big deal. I mean, it really, So,
especially as they get older, just, it gets pretty wild, but it's so much fun.
It is. My oldest just started wrestling last year, and my youngest is awesome. He's into soccer right now, but he likes baseball too. I don't know. We'll see which one he ends up. Like we're still working that out. But my son loves
is baseball? Is it the
wrestling.
T-ball level?
T-ball, yes. Next year he'll do like coach pitch or whatever. Yeah, but it is. It's really fun. But like wrestling tournaments are on Sunday, which I love because then I still have like my weekend. But
but
anyways, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Is the T-ball painful?
Oh. It is so hard to watch.
It's so cute, oldest, but yet so
my oldest tried T-ball, but he just was like playing in the rock. Like he just needs action. Like he rides BMX and dirt bikes. Both my kids, like they need action. I think soccer is probably going to be more of my youngest thing, but wrestling is my favorite to watch. Oh my gosh, I never thought I'd say that.
My daughter does jiu-jitsu.
Oh, nice! That's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, but wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, a combination of those two things is like
he'll be the next UFC fighter.
I hope not. I can't even watch a boxing match without feeling sick, even though I know grown men are like choosing to do this to each other.
I know.
And women. Like I can't even watch a boxing match, but when my little 40-pound soaking wet 7-year-old is wrestling, I'm like, take up down. Like it's so ridiculous.
But it's so good.
Anyway, I appreciate you sharing all of this with us. And
absolutely. Thank you.
What you end up doing. But I still have a couple more questions that I always ask at the end of each episode.
Please. Yes.
And the first one is, and I know we haven't talked a whole lot about like shooting in general, so this will be interesting. What is something you can't live without when you're doing a photo shoot?
Oh my gosh, what I can't live without? My snacks.
Snacks. You get hungry during your shoots?
I do. I bring snacks with me because like sometimes it's like my day just gets so busy. Or even when I'm shooting a wedding, it's like the day gets so busy and like
weddings,
with a wedding, like
sure.
But just throughout the day, like right now, it's like I haven't really eaten anything yet, just because I woke up and it's just been I'm like literally I'm go the second I open my eyes every day, same. And so and then I remind myself, oh God, I need to eat. So I always make sure that I have a good handful of snacks with me whenever I go to a session, because there is going to be that moment where I can, okay, if they're changing their outfit or we're walking, like I can quickly just like, grab something and pop it in my mouth or whatever.
Wedding day, that's so crucial. For sure.
Yes.
All right. Number 2 is, how do you spend your time when you're not working? And I know you talked a little bit about that, but if you want to elaborate.
Spending time when I'm not working, well, depends on the day of the week. But I would say, out on the football field, watching both my boys play. My daughter, she does gymnastics and jujitsu, and she just finished playing soccer, but she just decided she wants to start playing tennis. So I may find myself on the tennis court.
Fun.
Yeah. I'm a neat freak, so I'm constantly cleaning my house. Maybe that's taking time away from work. I don't know. But just I try to get, to kind of get out. Like last night, like we went to this local restaurant for Monday Night Football, and had some drinks and appetizers and things like that.
Nice.
And now that my wedding season is over, like I'm looking ahead at my, my upcoming weeks, and I've got some fun social things planned with some friends as well, family, but also
good.
Social. You can't forget to have some good times and laughs with friends.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Number 3 is, what is a photography specific product that you would recommend to pretty much any photographer to have?
Well, again, I think that's also very dependent on what it is that you are doing, right?
Yeah. What about for portraits, since this is, the portrait system?
I love my 50 millimeter 1.2. Love that.
So you shoot Canon now. So you started with Nikon,
shooting Canon. I did. Yes.
Yeah. I did the same.
And you know what? You know why I made the switch? So I remember when I shot that very first wedding, the photographer I was with, he had an extra Canon body, and he said, "Hey, I want you to shoot with this today." I was like, "Okay." And so, I went from shooting, like I brought my little Nikon camera with me. He's like, "No, I'm going to have you shoot on this Canon." And it was the original classic 5D. And I just loved how it felt in my hands. And I loved how I was able to, adjust the settings and everything. It's almost like I went from that Nikon to the Canon. It was just easier for me to, and then when I was looking to upgrade my Nikon or possibly even buy the Canon, he said to me, he was like, well, you need, again, you just need to feel it in your hands and see, what does this feel like for you? And not so much like, how it photographs, right?
I know, right?
Yeah. Like that is really an important thing. But no, I've been shooting, I've had it's my baby. I've had my 50, I think, since the very beginning. It was one of my first big purchases. And I still till this day think back like, wow, that was one of the best things ever. Cause it's, I think it's a very versatile lens for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when it comes to like shooting product or people or, details. So, yeah.
I switched to Canon too for a variety of reasons. Part of it was being able to share lenses with other photographers I was working with at weddings or whatever. And if we all had Canon, it just made sense. But my husband had a Nikon. So that's why I started with, that's how like the first DSLR I ever played with was his. It was a Nikon D80. And then I started with the Nikon D700. And it's so funny because I have a client who I did family photos for 9 years ago in Michigan. They moved to Ohio, and she just reached out to me and was like, hey, can you do my daughter's senior photos? We'll come back up. And I'm actually I have a friend who lives not too far from them in Cincinnati. And I was like, I'll just come do the senior shoot in Cincinnati. I'll visit my friend. It'll be perfect. And I was looking back because she had posted the family photos and tagged me in them. And I was like, I love these photos. I swear all of the shoots that I look at from my Nikon D700, I love. Like, I don't know what it was. It's almost, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Because it's not like I was the best photographer in the world. It was 9 years. Well, I'm still not, but you know what I mean? 9 years ago. Like there was something about that Nikon D700, and I've joked around like I'm going to find your connection with it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like my very first like quote unquote like glamour photography that I did in the rental apartment in Seattle in the corner of my house was on that D700. I look back at those photos and I love them. So I don't know. Who knows?
I have to say, I mean, and I shoot with the the new it's not new so much now, but the mirrorless, the Canon mirrorless camera. And I still think back to my 5D classic and just, I still love that camera body. I still love it.
So funny. So funny. I have the R6. You have the R6 or the R5 or?
I have the R6. I couldn't justify the R5.
Same.
I think it was
me either.
I mean, as much as I would have loved to have it, but like I was talking with, I have a friend who has the R5, and so I got a chance to kind of play around with it a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with my decision to, because I save myself some good money,
Yeah, me too. So funny. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
All right. Last question is, what would you tell people who are just starting out?
Well, kind of like what I said earlier, right? Like, I quoted Walt Disney, and I said, if you can dream it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Just take a chance and just go for it. I remember when I first started out, and, my husband, like I said, he was like my biggest believer. And, but I remember he shared with me something that he was talking with one of his friends, and his friend said, everybody knows a photographer. So, and I took it more in a negative way, as far as like, so what are you saying? Like, I can't be a photographer. Like, you don't think I'm going to be able to do this? And, but I use that as a way to just kind of motivate me to just do everything I can to just get out there. I did start with like, getting out there and like networking with people and networking with people, in the industry as a whole, whether they were a florist, they were a coordinator, they, were a DJ or a band member, whatever it may be. And then things changed as my kids got a little bit older too, because it was taking, it's hard. It is hard to network when you have kids. It's very hard, especially when you have networking events. Like, yes, but, I just, I'd say just keep your head high and just keep moving forward, and it'll happen. You just got to be patient with yourself. Awesome. It doesn't come quick, but, you be patient and you just keep moving forward. You'll be fine.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question is, where can people find you online?
Best place to find me, I would say, is on Instagram. Just at Jihan Cerda, JIHAN CERDA. I have my website, jihancerda.com, but I'd say Instagram is probably the best. I tend to keep that the most updated. But yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jihan.
Yeah, thank you. This has been so great.
Hopefully we'll meet in person at some point.
Yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Come to Wine Country. We'll go wine tasting. How awesome would that be?
That sounds amazing.
Yes. I know some of the best wineries around here too. So
speaking my language.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, thank you again. This has been awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Also, if you want more photography education, resources, and inspiration, head to theportraitsystem.com. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.